Hello and shalom from Israel. This is Sanford Elliott of Sanford Elliott Knits. I haven't posted anything in quite a while to my YouTube channel because frankly, the whole COVID situation has kind of gotten me a little depressed. And that leads to a major case of not being motivated. So I'm trying to force myself out of my comfort zone and force the motivation. So I want to do a brief yarn review today because the next sweater that I'm designing is going to be made in Berroco's UltraAlpaca. And Berroco was kind enough to send me, because I asked them, it never hurts to ask, all they can do is say no. I asked if they would send me 6 skeins of black and 6 skeins of winter white, and they were kind enough to donate the yarn. I've never used this before, and in fact, I've never actually seen it in a store before, so I wasn't familiar with it, and I was afraid that it was going to be a little itchy, and it's not. It's very soft. It is 50% superfine alpaca and 50% Peruvian wool, and it is marked as a number 4 worsted weight yarn. Now, the recommended needle size is US 8 or 5 millimeters. Or if you're doing crochet, a 5 millimeter hook or a size 8 or H US hook. The gauge they recommend on the size 8 needles is 26 rows and 20 stitches to 4 inches. I made that sample using their recommended needle size, and I didn't particularly care for it much. I found it, for me, to be a little bit loose in terms of gauge. And I was getting on their recommended needle size, I got pre-blocking 21.5 stitches and 28 rows. After blocking, I was at gauge at 20 stitches to 4 inches and 28 rows, and it is interesting. I washed it on the wool cycle, both samples, on the wool cycle on my machine, which doesn't have any agitation and it's cool water. They recommend hand washing in cool water. And it got shorter this way. It went from 4.5 inches tall to 4 inches tall, and it got wider width-wise, going from 7.75 inches to 8 inches. Which is just strange. And also, you can't tell from seeing it on camera, instead of being a rectangle, it's now a trapezoid. I don't understand that. I've never seen that happen with a gauge swatch before. So what I did was I knit it on size 6 needles because I like a slightly firmer gauge, and I'm very happy with this. On size 6 needles, pre-blocking, I got 24 stitches to 4 inches and 32 rows, and the pre-blocking swatch was 4.25 inches tall and 8.75 inches wide. After blocking on that same wool cycle, I got 22.5 stitches per 4 inches and 32 rows still, but again, the dimensions changed. It went from 4.25 inches tall to 4 inches tall, and from 8.75 inches wide to 9 inches wide. So I don't know why it's going to increase width-wise when it shrinks vertically, lengthwise. But I thought that was interesting. And it washes. Oh my God, it's almost like cotton. It's so soft. It's got a very slight halo. I've read some reviews of it online that say that it sheds. I didn't find any of that after the blocking, but again, it was just one cycle. It has not been worn. I have not knit the sweater yet, so I will update this video as soon as I make progress on the actual sweater. But as of now, I'm very impressed. It is a very round yarn, and the stitch definition is just exquisite. I'm going to hold this up and see if you can tell. That's stockinette stitch, and that's garter stitch, and each stitch is very distinct. I'm very impressed with this yarn. I envision making a lot of sweaters in this yarn. The sweater I'm wearing, by the way, is my first design, the Shmoneh sweater, And I could easily envision knitting this sweater again in the UltraAlpaca. I think it's just fabulous. What else does the label say? The label says, hand wash and cool, lay flat to dry. I don't hand wash anything. The put up for each skein is 3.5 ounces or 100 grams, and it's 219 yards or 200 meters. So you get a lot in each skein. Now, I searched for prices online, and yarn.com, which is Webs, and Wool and Company both have it at $13 US dollars a skein. I did find some skeins available on Amazon at a slightly less price, but they don't have the full range of colors for sure, and it comes in some absolutely gorgeous colors. But both of those companies ship, and I know that I haven't ordered from Wool and Company, but I know that for me in Israel, Webs, yarn.com will ship to Israel, which is great, because there's only one fabulous yarn store that I've discovered in Israel so far for high-end yarns like this. And they generally don't have a huge amount in stock in sweater amounts that I would need for a sweater. The yarn that this sweater is knit from is also Berroco. It's Berroco Vintage, which is fabulous, acrylic and wool blend, and I did get it at the yarn store in Ra'anana, the gourmet yarn shop. If you're ever in Israel, they're worth a trip to Ra'anana to visit. Orly, who runs it, is an absolutely lovely woman, and I always have a good time when I go up there. So that's my review for the UltraAlpaca. It's got to be really popular, because when I went on Ravelry and searched for projects, there were like 45,000 projects knitted in this yarn. And that's saying something, because if it were a really terrible yarn, it wouldn't be that popular. So I highly recommend it, and I will keep you guys posted as to the status of my next sweater design. It's design number 4. In the description below, I will post a link to both the sweater I'm wearing on Ravelry and on my own website at sanfordelliottknits.com. I would love to hear from you in the comments, whether you have suggestions for other reviews you'd like to see, any suggestions to make the videos better. I know one thing I have to get used to is actually looking at the camera and not looking at myself talking on the screen. I will work on that. And also, I should point out that it's 10 to 2 in the morning, because the street I live on just south of Tel Aviv in Yafo is one of the noisiest streets in the area. And if it were in daytime or early evening, you would be hearing motorcycles blasting past. And there is a yellow Lamborghini that drives at about 120 kilometers up and down Yafet. Apparently it doesn't have a muffler. It's very noisy, and my dog Minnie barks at anything that goes past the apartment. So I'm recording this basically in the middle of the night. So if I look tired, that's probably why. But, and from now on, I will be posting videos more often. I promise not to leave you hanging for another 2 years. Press the like button if you like the video, subscribe, and you'll get notified of future videos. And I will be chatting with you soon.